Welcome to Abstract Audio, the podcast presenting life as an abstract art form. The show that encourages you to perceive beyond the tangible, to extract the infinite from the finite, to see with the mind what you cannot physically see with the eyes. Oh, it's an emancipation. It's an exploration into areas usually overlooked. Explore with me on today's episode. All right, welcome back, you weirdos. If you've been tuning in, you know 3 things right now. 1, you know I'm your host, Amber Janae. 2, you know this is the Abstract Audio Podcast, episode 19 to be specific. And number 3, we've been on a fucking roll lately. Last time, you guys know we got into the trenches of tradition with our wonderful guest, Miss Tina. Woo, clap it up. Yeah, I mean, we talked on everything on why we love it, why we hate it, and why your grandma still gives you the side eye when you skip church. And even before that, you guys, we actually went back and stirred the pot on loyalty, asking if it's really a virtue or just society's way of keeping you in check. And today, you guys, it is cold as fuck outside, so you know we gotta turn up the heat in here. That's right. So we're talking anger and forgiveness. Why do we hold grudges like we're getting paid for it? Is it really that easy to forgive and forget? Well, let's dig into the drama, the psychology, and of course, the mess that comes with it. Let's go. All right, and today I am not rolling solo. I actually have an amazing creative and mixologist here sitting in with us today. Please welcome Jarquez Robinson to the pod. Jarquez, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm chilling. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for asking. And I know your time is precious, so let's jump right on in. The topic today is anger. The thing to me about anger is like it serves a purpose, or at least we like to think that it does. Do you think anger serves a purpose in art or in life, or is it just like this kind of emotional noise?
I think anger definitely serves a purpose. Sometimes it can be used as motivation to be better, because sometimes we're angry at ourselves for situations that we could have controlled or could have moved different in, or could have avoided altogether. So I feel like anger definitely serves a purpose. It allows you to feel emotion on situations that may not have gone the way that you wanted them to go.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I agree. And then on the surface, it kind of seems like this kind of knee-jerk reaction. Someone cuts you off in traffic, boom, you're angry. But what if anger isn't just an immediate reaction? What if it's more like a manifestation of something deeper, like overall dissatisfaction or discontent, or like that gnawing feeling that life just didn't turn out quite the way you expected,
Right.
And anger, as loud and as messy as it is, it often stems from things we don't even want to admit to ourselves sometimes, or at least, it does for me anyway.
A lot of times we're angry at the outcome. I'm sorry. A lot of times we're angry at the outcome, but not the situations that led to the outcome. So exactly. Sometimes we could, if you're dating somebody and you see red flags that a person is giving you, but you choose to ignore them because you really want things to work out with this person, or whatever the case may be. It's like a lot of the times we're angry, it's because we put ourselves in situations that we could have avoided altogether. We just didn't want to be realistic with ourselves, so then we allow the behavior and actions of other people and things upset us.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better. A lot of times that anger is misdirected. And, or even, we talked on family and tradition last episode. And for instance, it's easier to be mad at your parents for their strict upbringing, than to confront the fear that their rules, or some of their rules, may have actually been right, and it's easier to get angry at society for its failures, than to ask yourself, why you're so desperate for its approval. It's misdirected most of the
Right.
time, and anger really kind of lets us off the hook. It feels so powerful, even when it's just masking that vulnerability. Really, it's weird because anger really doesn't even play fair. Think about it. Like, how many times have you been just furious at someone or something only to realize later on that they weren't even the problem? Like, have you ever been mad at something like completely ridiculous?
Yeah, I've been mad at a lot of things in my life, and I just like when I, calm down, decompress, and then actually think about the situation. I'm like, it wasn't you that I was mad at. It was,
Right.
me putting myself in a situation, or things out of our control, and it just so happens that you are the scapegoat because the situation involved you, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I
Exactly.
would
And I love that word.
definitely say that.
Exactly. I love that word, scapegoat. But me personally, like, I know if I like I'm having a tough day or whatever, if I like fucking trip over a rug or like, hit your pinky toe on that little, just be wanting to throw hands with the rug, out of nowhere. Because anger, it doesn't always make sense, and that's part of what makes it so human. But here's my question for you and the audience too, the listeners. Like, how many of us are angry at something even deeper than that? Not just surface level, not just, within us, but in our psyche. Because I know Black people in general, or a lot of African Americans, you could say, kind of hold that generational anger, that's kind of worked down from years of oppression and frustration with society in general. So would you say that that's something you've had to tap into in the past?
I feel like it is something I've had to tap into in the past, because I feel like society sets a standard based on where you should be given ethnicity, racial background, or whatever the case may be. And I feel like a lot of times, our life might get run off course, and we feel a type of way because we're not living up to the standards of where we should be in life. Like, for example, a woman that feels the need to be married by 30, or a guy that feels the need to be completely stable, or at a point to where he's happy before he engages in a marriage or a super deep commitment with a person. I feel like a lot of people are angry at societal standards and not really angry because they're not where they're supposed to be. And then sometimes people just don't put in the work to get to those societal standards, so then they're mad at that. I feel like a lot of people, one, aren't putting in the work to get to that, which creates anger. And then two, a lot of people just kind of look at society and it's just like, oh, well, all my friends are married at this age and I'm not married, so I'm kind of upset with myself, or I should have done things differently and all of that, when all you can do is just live your life. You can't really, base your life on a societal timeline. You just got to live your life, and what's meant for you will be when it's supposed to be.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. And it's almost like this paradox too, because we're upset with society for setting these unrealistic standards and these unrealistic goalposts, but at the same time we're so desperate for its approval. And and you're right, that is one of the most ridiculous things to be mad at, because it's kind of self-imposed at the same time. So it's really
Right.
messed up. We're really messed up in many ways, and that's kind of where the absurdity lies in it. But you're right, taking that anger and making it useful, is the real key, and channeling that in a positive way. Because does just yelling at your waiter at the restaurant, for overcooking your food, does it fix your steak? No, but
No,
it really
you still gotta fuck
feels
your
good
steak. You
though.
just gotta, what I'm saying?
It
And
really
the
feels good
service is
though,
the
doesn't it?
person that made the steak. It's the cooks in the kitchen. So it's like, oh, you can
The
do it.
cook in
And
the
I deal with
kitchen.
that being a bartender all the time. Like, I'll ring in an order, and I'll put in notes how the customer wants their order to be, and then it comes out and it's not what they want it to be, and then they kind of take their aggression and anger out on me, and I'm just like, I'm just the messenger. Like,
Right.
I rang it in right, I did my job, but because the people behind the scenes didn't do their job, you're mad at me because I am the face of where your issue stems from. And a lot of times we just channel our anger at the wrong things, and we just gotta, sometimes we just gotta think about it. And like, me being in the industry that I'm in, like whenever I do dine out or I go to a restaurant or whatnot, if a server or a bartender can't get to me because I clearly see that they're busy, I don't get mad at it. It's just like, I know you're not ignoring me. I know you've seen me, because me as a bartender, when anyone sits at my bar, I see them. I might not be able to get to you in that moment, but I see you. So whenever I'm out dining or eating or whatever, it's just like, I understand people have off days, people have bad days, people have, a lot of other things going on. So I just try to not get mad at things that I can't control.
Exactly.
It's okay for me to get mad at myself when I put myself in a bad situation. But when it's things that are out of my control, I just try not to get angry at it at this point in my life, because it's just wasted energy. It's like, you can't control the outcome. You have no control over. What's the point of working up all these emotions and feeling the type of way about something that,
Exactly, is out of your hands. And I feel like that's a big thing too, because a lot of people, and I'm not even sure where this came from really, but it's a belief that I held as well, and I had to go to therapy, for a long time to kind of like find that, or find why I was so angry deep down. And a lot of it is generational, like just being Black and it being passed down from my grandmother and mother and things like that. So that anger is in part generational. But I know I've noticed a lot of people feel like anger fuels change, right? To an extent, like, oh, anger will light a fire in you, right? I'm saying, anger will light a fire in you, or get you excited or amped up to do something or to make a change. If you're angry at the circumstances in your life, that will then push you to change, and I'm not even sure where that came from, like, I don't know why we as humans feel like that will really, work up some difference. But, how often does it actually, like, nobody's yelled their way. Exactly. Nobody's yelled their way to a better world.
It creates resolve. And that's one thing I would say, like, say I'm dating someone or whatever. I personally don't argue with people. Like, there's something that you need to talk to me about. I would much rather talk to you about that situation from a point of where we're both calm, we're both, chill, and we're not angry at each other, because with anger comes unintentional hurt or unintentional, disrespect and all of that. So, like, if someone's trying to argue with me, I just let them have it. Okay, cool. You got it. We can.
You got it.
We can go our separate ways. We can think about what upset us, and then we can come back as conscious adults, and we can have this conversation. Because in the art of arguing with someone, you typically just running off emotion. You're not running off logic or reason. And
a lot of times,
you might say things that hurt another person, and then when you're emotional, you're more inclined to listen to respond than to listen to understand. So a lot of the times we just make ourselves angry for no reason. So it's kind of pointless to just react off anger when it comes from an emotional standpoint. You have to actually let yourself be angry, understand why these things made you angry, what could have been done to prevent the feelings of anger, and then come back and, diagnose the situation from like a calm standpoint. It's not that deep sometimes. They just want to be reactive. They just want to react to situations. And all
Because you know what? Misery loves company. Like, I found that, and I'm very similar in relationships too. Like, if I'm angry, if I'm worked up, people feed off energy, right? So if I'm worked up, if I'm feeling away, I kind of want somebody to sit in that energy with me. I either want to lower their vibration and get that person on that level with me,
because you want them to feel how you feel.
That's
not how you
go about
solve situations.
Exactly. And then some people make the mistake too, if not expressing it in that moment and getting out that rage, up front. They either, women especially, I'm not sure if it's like this with men as well, but women especially, we've kind of learned to suppress our anger, right? A lot of times, especially as Black women in America, Black men in America, I'd assume too. But we have to kind of learn as we're moving through life to suppress our anger. We can't go off on every Karen, that say some bullshit to us. You know what I'm saying? We have to suppress that anger, but, to bottle it up, to avoid rocking the boat, even when the fucking boat deserves to be tipped the fuck over. But the thing when
you gotta pick your battles wisely.
Exactly. But the thing, when you suppress that anger, it doesn't just disappear, because it's energy, right? It doesn't just disappear. It festers, it lingers, it morphs
It
into
builds up. It's like a bucket. And then eventually that
exactly.
bucket is going to overflow. And then anger is going to turn into aggression. And then aggression is going to turn into something potentially different. So, a lot of people just need to understand why the anger happens and
Right.
understand how to direct that anger in a healthy manner. But a lot of times people are angry for no reason. A lot of times
Exactly.
people are angry for selfish reasons.
Yep.
So
Exactly. And you're right. It morphs into aggression or resentment, or worse, self-destruction, what is it? I love the term mutually assured destruction. I just love that term. Like, I just love that term for some reason. Like, if I go down, you go down with me. And this generation is just not willing to do the inward work. No, I won't say not willing, but not as keen on doing the inward work to figure out, what the cause of that personal
that's
anger
not
is,
sterile. That's very true. A lot of people just like I have a master's in psychology, so I kind of understand how people think, how people feel, how people express those feelings and those thoughts and all of that. So I feel like I'm kind of in like the percentage of people who understand, but then a lot of people, they're never taught to understand. A lot of people just, they grow up, they see, they do something wrong, their parents react to it. And then when they get older, somebody does something wrong to them, and they become reactive to it. But you just have to understand that like a lot of these situations can be avoided if you understand why you're mad and how to, get your feelings known by the other party. Like
Exactly.
a lot of people that commit crimes, for example, it's just like sometimes it's okay to just let people have things. Sometimes it's okay that a misunderstanding is a misunderstanding. But a lot of people, they're just trained to be reactive, and then they do things from a reactive standpoint that changes their entire lives for the rest of their lives. And it's just like, bro, just take a minute. Think about why you're upset at what this person did. Think
Exactly.
about how you could have
Especially black
avoided what
people.
this person did.
Exactly.
You know?
Especially black people. There are so many black men behind bars because they couldn't control their emotions in a split instant. You know what I mean? And that fucked up their whole lives. And
60 seconds of trying to prove your point then change the whole trajectory of your life. And
exactly.
it's just not that deep.
Exactly. I mean, and sometimes it is, because are you mad at like Karen, or are you mad at the system that taught Karen that her like microaggressions were harmless? Are you mad at your parents for their mistakes, or are you mad at the circumstances that limited their choices? And unfortunately, it is really hard to decipher. And what's interesting to me is that some people say that forgiveness is just the key to a lot of things, right? And like, oh, if you're angry, just forgive yourself, just move on, and let it go, because that makes the most sense. But it really doesn't, and forgiveness is so hard for a lot of people, because it's not just about letting go of anger, it's about figuring out what the heck you were actually mad at in the first place too.
Right. Yeah, it's just understanding. It's like understanding why you're mad, not forgiving somebody for making you mad. You have to understand why this made you mad, why this person made you. What did they do that triggered you to become so, angry? You have to
Exactly.
understand that, and a lot of people don't understand it. They just, like I said,
Exactly.
a lot of people are just
Exactly.
reactive. You can forgive somebody, but you won't forget it at the end of the day. But understanding helps you forget it. And that's what I see with a lot of couples that, like somebody is cheating on one of their spouses or whatever. And it's really not the action that hurts the partner. It's the why the action happened that hurts the person more.
Right. Exactly. The why
So
behind
like
it.
say, and me and you were dating and, I feel like, oh, you always go out with your friends and you don't ever make time for me, or you felt the same way about me. Oh, you're always working and you never make time for me. And then this guy comes along, he makes you feel like this. He's making time for you. He's doing all of this, this, and this. That is the why you cheated on me. Or that is the why I cheated on you. It's not the action. It's the why. And a lot of people don't understand the why. They just understand the action. So
Exactly. And then you get to a place where you question, like, can anger and forgiveness even coexist? And like that forgive and forget, that bullshit mantra, who even came up with that, really? Like, forgive and forget,
right.
let it go, let bygones be bygones, But forgetting isn't just unlikely. Well, my memory is really bad, the drugs and things like that. But forgetting isn't just unlikely, it's damn near impossible. Your brain isn't just a whiteboard that you can
You're
wipe
not
through.
gonna forget trauma.
You're not gonna forget. You're
That's
not gonna
just
forget.
unrealistic.
And
But
your
you can
body,
forgive and
exactly.
understand it. And if you forgive and
Exactly.
understand it, then it makes it easier. It doesn't hurt as much.
Exactly, because that memory is not going anywhere. Like, a lot of trauma is muscle memory as well. It's it's really in you. And you're right, forgiveness isn't just about forgetting. It's about choosing not to let that memory control you, choosing not to let that moment of anger control you as well. It's weird because society kind of looks at anger either as like at two extremes. You know what I mean? It's really inconsistent, because sometimes anger is like the hero, celebrated in protests and revolutions and all these movements, right? That spark them. And other times it's the villain, condemned for starting wars and things like that. And I think we want it to be this kind of noble force for change, but we don't want to deal with the mess that it leaves behind. And just like you don't want to deal with the trauma that's left behind as well. And I think people really need to get past that. But psychology is a great background to have for this topic. That's so cool. But how would you suggest people begin to kind of move on and move past things that have held them up in the past?
I just feel like a lot more people in life need to get therapy. There are so many resources to help people get therapy and heal. There's just so many different coping mechanisms outside of what people choose, whether it be drugs or, confiding in a friend that really, can't give them beneficial. I feel like people just need an unbiased party to give them insight on why they feel the way they feel about certain situations. And if a lot of more people put themselves in those situations to have an unbiased opinion, they'd be okay with it. But a lot of people, they just kind of confide in who they know. They confide in who they're comfortable with. And a lot of times you have to be in an uncomfortable situation to gain some tact, because most of the times the people you're comfortable with are going to offer you comfort. They're not going to offer you solutions.
Exactly.
And then when it comes to a person that's an unbiased party, they're going to offer you solutions, whether it's comfortable for you or not. You might not be willing to accept those solutions because you're not comfortable, but a lot of people need to, get solutions from an uncomfortable party. And that's what a lot of people don't. They have a issue with their baby daddy or something, then they call their best friend who already don't like the baby daddy. So it's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna tell you, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you what I think you should do. But like, no, healing is one of those things, and like, channeling your anger is one of those things. Like, you can't be comfortable when you understand that. Like, I could be mad at the world for all the things bad that has happened in my life, but at the end of the day, I have to hold myself accountable for it because I've put myself in those situations. A lot of people aren't willing to hold themselves accountable for enabling those things to happen. They just look at the outcome of what that happened to them in their lives and whatnot, and they're mad at that. They're not mad at the fact that, oh, if I wasn't hanging out with this person, I would have never got arrested. Oh, if I wasn't choosing to, date this person when they've given me all the red flags, he wouldn't have cheated on me. Or so people don't understand the part that they play in their anger, and a lot of people need that unbiased party to help them understand that.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And you're right. They don't want to hold themselves accountable, but they would love to hold grudges, right? Hold grudges. Yeah. And I really do like that one saying, holding a grudge is like, drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. You're hurting yourself more than anybody else. And I don't want to hurt you here, but we do have to let you go. Thank you so much for joining me on this, beautiful, chaotic mess. You were great. Any final words of wisdom to tell the listeners and tell them where they can find you?
Y'all can find me at Tribe Called Quez on Instagram, TRIIBEQUEZ on Instagram, or Jarquez, the greatest with 2 E's, Robinson on Facebook. I just wish everyone the best. I hope people can learn to heal in a healthy manner. I wish people can get more therapy because that's needed, especially within the Black community. Hold yourself accountable and don't be mad at the outcome. Be mad at yourself for putting yourself in that situation. And I promise you, you'll be a lot more peaceful in life and you'll sleep a lot better at night. It was a pleasure chatting with y'all.
Well, you heard the man. Be sure to check him out. Go ahead, follow and support. And you know where to find me at Abstract Audio on all platforms. And always appreciate the abstract in your life.